Hello, and welcome to the brand new Cyberpunk Red Core Rulebook review series. With the Cyberpunk Red Core Rulebook dropping digitally, there's a lot to discover about the new world provided to us by the fine folks over at Artelsorian Games. This 458-page tome and follow-up to the classic tabletop RPG Cyberpunk 2020 is, of course, also serving as a prequel to the most anticipated video game of the year, Cyberpunk 2077. In this episode, we will cover Cyberpunk Red's roles and role abilities, which is Cyberpunk's answer to the typical class-based tabletop RPG system. In 2019, Artelsorian Games released the Cyberpunk Red Starter Kit. While a lot of fun, it was really only intended to be a one-shot as opposed to a full campaign. It was super bare bones and did not include such staples of tabletop RPGs as character creation, a leveling system, or almost half the roles and role abilities that are featured here in the full core rulebook. This video will be focusing on the Cyberpunk Red Core Rulebook roles and role ability system as a way to introduce you to the game. For all lovers of RPGs, character creation is one of the most exciting elements and provides a lot of insight into what you might be able to expect from the game going forward. Cyberpunk typically offers players a different take on classes, a word they barely use in this particular context. As Cyberpunk Red explicitly favors style over all other considerations, each role mentioned in this review has immense stylistic and creative potential. The roles in Cyberpunk Red are Rockerboy, Solos, Techs, Medtechs, Netrunners, Medias, Lawmen, Fixers, Execs, and Nomads. These are obviously a bit different from your run-of-the-mill magic casters or medieval armored warriors that you might find in other tabletop RPGs. When it comes to Cyberpunk Red, however, the Rockerboys, Solos, Techs, Netrunners, Fixers, and Nomads, they were all featured in the Cyberpunk Red Starter Kit, which had pre-generated characters that featured heavily in that adventure. Whereas Medtechs, Medias, Lawmen, and Execs were not included at all, and therefore one of the main reasons to be excited about the release of the core rulebook is the inclusion of these roles. The in-depth nuts and bolts of character creation, combat skills, and abilities are all topics for separate videos that I invite you to check out here on the channel. Let's start with Rockerboys. The closest comparison might be the Bard in Dungeons & Dragons, but with all things Cyberpunk, it offers its own unique take. Rockerboys are characterized as rock and roll rebels who use performance, art, and rhetoric to fight authority. The Rockerboy role is charisma heavy. While you can certainly be a musician and are encouraged to, the role is intended for anyone who succeeds via charismatic, performative, or rhetorical means. This means you can be a rock star, poet, cult leader, or even maybe something like a politician. Anybody who leads and inspires. Their main functions are to lead, inspire, and inform. Give the timid courage, the weak strength, and the blind vision. Rockerboys are able to play venues which correlate to their charismatic impact rank, from small local clubs to huge stadiums. Rockerboy skills are composition, handgun, melee weapon, personal grooming, play instrument, of which you can choose one, streetwise, and wardrobe and style. So they're heavy on the art and the style, and they do have the melee weapon and handgun skills, but otherwise they are light combat abilities. Their unique role ability is Charismatic Impact. With this ability, Rockerboys can influence others by sheer presence of personality. They need not be a musical performer, they can influence others through poetry, art, dance, or simply their physical presence. They could be a rocker or a cult leader. As they grow in skill, they can affect larger and larger groups and call on their fans for greater and greater requests of loyalty. The Charismatic Impact ability can only be used on fans, and to determine who is a fan of the Rockerboy is determined by the GM, the Game Master, and sort of follows any sort of logic. If you think that it makes sense for it to be this person to be a fan, then they will, and if not, then they won't. But you can only use this special ability on fan NPCs, and your ability to influence people and the number of people goes up with your rank. One of the more quintessentially cyberpunk roles, the Rockerboy, is for those who want to inspire change. Next, let's talk about solos. Solos are Cyberpunk's answer to a martial class. This role is the most fearsome and tough in combat, but it comes at a bit of a cost. Solos are characterized as assassins, bodyguards, killers, and soldiers for hire in a lawless new world. Built purely for combat, Solos are often war veterans from the Fourth Corp War or another conflict, and are typically heavily modified with combat-intensive cyberware, making them oftentimes more machine than human. They have more than a base familiarity with various combat drugs and stimulants that help them on the battlefield. These drugs, as well as their cyberware, impose a heavy cost on their psyche, but there are few who could stand up to a Solo in combat at all. The heavy cost imposed on the Solo comes in the form of low empathy and possible cyberpsychosis, but because of the fearsome abilities it gives you in combat, most Solos are willing to pay this high price. The Solo skills are auto-fire, handgun, interrogation, melee weapon, resist torture/drugs, shoulder arms, and tactics, with the role ability being combat awareness. With combat awareness, a Solo can call up their training to have an enhanced situational awareness of the battlefield. When combat begins, anytime outside of combat, or in combat with an action, a Solo may divide the total number of points they have in their combat awareness role ability among a number of combat abilities. If a Solo chooses to not change their point assignments, their previous ones persist. Activating some of these abilities will cost the Solo more points than others. So the combat awareness role ability is slightly similar to superiority die that the fighter gets in Dungeons & Dragons 5e, but I don't want to make too many comparisons. However, the combat awareness Solo role ability gives several sub-abilities, we'll call them. These include damage deflection, which allows you to reduce your damage that you take by the amount of points that you spend. Fumble recovery, allowing you to ignore critical failures. Initiative reaction, to get you higher in the initiative order and into a fight more quickly. Precision attack, to get +1 or +2, depending on how many points you spend on your attack. Spot weakness, to spot vulnerabilities in heavily armored targets. And threat detection, which gives you enhanced situational awareness and adds +1 to perception checks. Now, you have a certain amount of points that you can spend on each of these abilities, and you can use them at your whim. All in all, though, Solos are pure muscle and kick a lot of ass. The next role we have to talk about in this video is Netrunners. Netrunners are arguably Cyberpunk's most unique class or role, and are in some ways Cyberpunk's answer to the Wizard class. Fit to navigate the endlessly winding and twisting digital world of Cyberpunk Red, Netrunners are first and foremost your hackers. Netrunners are characterized as cybernetic master hackers of the post-net world and brain-burning secret stealers. As such, if you play as a Netrunner, you will be a master of the post-net cyberverse that can uniquely enter the digital world and face hostile and potentially lethal dangers such as black ice. Once you plug in, you can in fact be killed. Netrunners are required to have some degree of cyberware for their neural link and interface plugs, which they use to plug in. They also have cyberdecks to operate their net running hardware and programs and perform net actions and use their interface abilities. Described as electronic wraiths, which are now truly part of the team, Netrunners in the time of the Reddit differ from their predecessors in previous Cyberpunk iterations. The Netrunner skills are Basic Tech, Conceal/Reveal Object, Cryptography, Cyber Tech, Electronics/Security Tech, Handgun, and Library Search. Their role ability is Interface. A Netrunner's interface role ability allows them to net run, determines how many net actions they can take on their turn, and gives them access to a suite of interface abilities. With the interface Netrunner role ability, you get several net actions once you plug in, and this is determined by your interface rank. So the lower your rank, the fewer net actions you get. The higher your rank, the more you get on your turn. There are also several interface abilities that you will have access to, including Backdoor, Cloak, Control, ID, Pathfinder, Scanner Slide, Virus, and Zap, all of which we will get into more detail in a future video. The Net is one of Cyberpunk Red's iconic game systems, and the Netrunner is the role you can choose to access, hack, and control it. The next role we have to discuss in this video is Tech. Cyberpunk Red offers massive amounts of unique tech items to mold and craft to suit your world and campaign. Most things can be tinkered with, modified, and upgraded. They also frequently need to be repaired. Techs offer massive upside in making the most of your party's weapons and gadgets. Techs are characterized as renegade medics and super tech inventors, the people who make the dark future run. Techs typically can't leave anything alone and are uniquely able to craft and improve items. Always walking around with at least 2 screwdrivers and a wrench, they fix computers, hydrogen burners in metro cars, video feeds, and whatever else the time of the Red needs to tick. Techs make a living in a technological world recovering from a war that broke the back of the supply chain. As such, there's always some money to be made and many opportunities to fulfill the role of a tech. However, the big money typically is in illegal weapons, cyber tech, and espionage gear, which represent bigger jobs, bigger pay, and bigger danger. Techs secure their position by offering abilities that society needs to survive in the time of the Red. Tech skills are basic tech, cyber tech, electronics/security tech, land vehicle tech, shoulder arms, science, of which you can choose one, and weapons tech. The tech's role ability is Maker. Using the Maker role ability, the tech can improve, fix, modify, make, and invent new items. Whenever a tech increases their Maker rank by 1, they gain 1 rank in 2 different Maker specialties of their choice, including repairing, upgrading, fabricating, and inventing. So similarly to the solo role ability, tech role ability Maker includes 4 sub-abilities. These include Field Expertise, which adds your rank in this specialty to any tech check of all the ones I just listed, including basic, cyber, electronics/security, weapons, land, sea, or air vehicle skill checks you make. The next sub-ability is Upgrade Expertise. This allows your tech to upgrade an item, and the better upgrades are for higher ranks. The next sub-ability is the Fabrication Expertise, which allows you to fabricate an existing item or one invented by the tech using invention expertise from materials. The final one is Invention Expertise, which allows the tech to invent an upgrade to an existing item or invent an entirely new item. Only techs can invent new items and upgrade your tools in unique ways limited only by your imagination and your GM's generosity. The world of Cyberpunk is not without its healing class, of course. That's where the role of the Medtech comes in. Oftentimes, they are unlicensed and unsanctioned, yet they know how to do the job in the time of the Red. When it comes to healing, they are uniquely qualified to perform surgery and otherwise provide healing and healthcare services that no other role can provide. Medtechs are characterized as unsanctioned street doctors and cyberware medics, patching up meat and metal alike. Medtechs may or may not have formal medical training, but are consistently the most reliable option for medical care. Described as an artist using the human body as a canvas, Medtechs know their way around both meat and cyberware. The best of them work in trauma teams, licensed paramedicals who patrol Night City. Night City has its own healthcare system, complete with insurance subscriptions, so Medtechs are never hurting for job opportunities to save the well-to-do. Whatever the motive, whether to save human life or just for the money, people in the time of the Red rely on Medtechs to get patched up. Medtech skills are basic tech, cyber tech, deduction, paramedic, resist torture drugs, science, of which you can choose one, and shoulder arms. The unique role ability for the Medtech is called Medicine. With this ability, Medtechs can keep people alive who should be dead with their knowledge, tools, and training. In the time of the Red, they are as much doctors as they are mechanics, caring for people who are often more machine than human. Whenever the Medtech increases their medicine rank, they also choose one of 3 medicine specialties to allocate a single point to. surgery, pharmaceuticals, or cryosystems operation. Similarly to the Solo and the Tech, the Medtech also has sub-abilities within their Medicine Medtech role ability, the first of which is Surgery. Surgery is a little self-explanatory. Only Medtechs can perform surgery, and this is done to treat the most severe critical injuries as well as implant cyberware. Medtechs can also invest in medical tech, which is pharmaceuticals. For every point you allocate to medtech pharmaceuticals, you gain 1 point in the medical tech skill with a maximum of up to 10. And the final category that you can invest in as a medtech is medical tech cryosystem operation, which allows you to operate, understand, and repair medical machinery, as opposed to particular or other types of machinery that don't really integrate with the human body. The cyberpunk world is known for blending humanity with machines and throttling that fine line as frequently as they can. Medtechs are experts of the human body in this transhumanist reality, but come with very little in the way of combat ability. The media role, which is the next one that we will be discussing in this video, is one of the more unique cyberpunk roles in that it is all about influencing the world around you. Medias constitute a powerful way of getting and transmitting information, and this is an excellent way to bring down corruption and bring down your enemies. Information is power in the world of Cyberpunk Red. Medias are characterized as reporters, media stars, and social influencers, risking it all for the truth or glory. Not necessarily journalists. Those in the media role are interested in stopping the powerful and the corrupt from bending the truth. Journalists looking for the inside scoop. The time of the Red is different from previous iterations in that the media role is now independent of a media corp. Medias have to forge their own reputation with their fans, contacts, and sources. Skilled in investigation, research, photography, and lip reading, medias team up with others to get the story and not die in the attempt, no matter what it takes. Media skills are bribery, composition, deduction, handgun, library search, lip reading, and photography/film. The unique role ability that the media has access to is called credibility. The media can not only convince an audience of the truth of what they publish, but also has a larger audience the more credible they are. Medias also have greater levels of access to sources and information. They are always in the know, with their ears to the ground to pick up on rumors and information passively. The credibility media role ability gives medias the ability to take advantage of rumors. Medias are deeply plugged into information networks, and we assume that they are not entirely off-grid because the GM will have to ask medias to roll their credibility rank twice per week in-game. When a media is actively looking for a rumor, they still appropriate stat. Rumors, by definition, are often untrue and are never the full story. Finding that is your job. And remember, some threads are dangerous to pull. It is expected that a media will get into trouble and find himself or herself in danger in the normal course of events when carrying out their work. After putting together a story from a rumor or a source material, medias can publish stories or scoops. You get access/sources, audience, believability, and impact. All of these things are modified by your credibility rank, which goes up as you gain experience and improvement points in the game. Part public influencer, part information broker. When you play in the media role, you're in a prime position to change the world as long as you're willing to go to the wall for the story. Though routinely villainized, Cyberpunk would not be Cyberpunk without the option to play in the Exec role. In Cyberpunk Red's dark future, transnational corporations have largely eclipsed governments in terms of power, money, resources, and capabilities. Well, this was true even more in previous iterations of the Cyberpunk world. However, in Cyberpunk Red, corporations, while still massively powerful, have suffered a bit thanks to the fourth corporate war and no longer have a monopoly on power. They are still one of the top players in the game, though even with governments re-emerging. The exec role is a way for you to climb a now more idealized and less powerful corporate ladder, though corporate power today is nothing like it was before the time of the Red. Execs are characterized as corporate power brokers and business raiders fighting to restore the rule of the megacorps. Work within a cutthroat corporate ecosystem where people are willing to do anything to get ahead. In Cyberpunk Red, execs excel at ruthless efficiency and do so while thriving at team building. With the power of the megacorps shattered following the war, the time of the Red presents many new opportunities for an ambitious exec. Execs are uniquely able to build a team with the teamwork role ability to accomplish their goals. Exec skills are accounting, bureaucracy, business, deduction, handgun, lip reading, and personal grooming. Their special role ability is teamwork. Just like a real corporate executive, the exec builds a team whose members help them accomplish their goals, whether legal or not, morale permitting. Team members have a visible job description, like secretary or driver, but also have covert roles, such as Netrunner, bodyguard, or assassin. Plus, they get free housing and a nice set of clothes. Teamwork exec role ability goes up, of course, as you improve in it and get higher ranks in teamwork. At rank 1, a signing bonus is given out. At rank 2, you get corporate housing. At rank 6, you get corporate health insurance. And at rank 3, you start being able to put together your team. Execs uniquely can put together teams of NPCs to help them get the job done. However, one of the mechanics that is crucial to the team building unique role ability is loyalty. You have to retain the loyalty of your team members. Of these can be bodyguards, covert operatives, company drivers, company netrunners, company technicians, etc., etc. However, the GM will control your team members, and all of this is at GM discretion. So if you're going to play as an exec, you better get your team together. On the other side of the authority coin is the lawman role. While governments around the world play a distant second fiddle to transnational corporations, in most cases they still hold de jure power. Indeed, in the time of the Red, local government in particular is making a comeback, as is the American federal government out east. And this is where the lawman comes in. Lawmen are characterized as maximum law enforcers patrolling the mean streets and barbarian warrior highways beyond. In the time of the Red, the streets are flooded with new drugs, new gangs, and new weapons, the latter of which makes the weapons of Cyberpunk 2020 look like kids' toys. The Night City Police Department used to be a big city force, but the old guard are mostly gone now. It is a difficult time to be a lawman, though the hardcore remain to take a stand against the chaos of the times. Excellent in a fight and with weapons more generally, a lawman might aspire to join the Psycho Squad to hunt down Night City's most dangerous cyborgs. Regardless, the lawman role is all about attempting to keep the mean streets of Night City safe. Lawman skills are auto-fire, deduction, criminology, handgun, interrogation, shoulder arms, and tracking. The unique role ability of the lawman is called backup. With this ability, lawmen can call upon the help of a group of fellow officers based on the lawman's rank and the conditions under which they make the call. This backup is armed and armored based on their rank. As a lawman increases in rank, they are likely to be promoted within their current law enforcement organization or to be recruited by law enforcement agencies that can currently call backup from. You do this when in danger. Now, your backup ranks are determined by your rank in backup skill. Now, this is the combat number, the SP or stopping power of armor that they're wearing, the HP or hit points that your backup has, and their move and body stats for how good they are. Now, all of this goes up, backup rank 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 5 through 7, etc., etc. Compared to some other role abilities, this one is rather straightforward because the higher your rank, the tougher your backup is when you call them. And you cannot spam or abuse the backup ability Whether or not your backup responds is at your GM's discretion, so you cannot abuse this ability. If you are planning to be a lawman, you better get ready to call for some backup while you're trying to keep the grim, mean, and dark streets of Night City safe in the time of the Red. The next class, or role, we have to discuss is Fixers. In Night City, information is its own form of currency, really. That's where the Fixer role comes in, for those of you who want to play as a real, smooth operator. Fixers are characterized as dealmakers, organizers, and information brokers in the post-war midnight markets of the street. Not suit and tie enough to be an exec, and not tough enough to be a solo, Fixers thrive on figuring out what people want and how to get it for them. For a price, of course. Fixers act as information brokers who have connections into all kinds of businesses, deals, and political groups. In the know on medicine prices and immersed in a vast web of intrigue and coercion, Fixers have been known to help the less fortunate and are 1 part Robin Hood while 2 parts Al Capone. The Fixer skills are bribery, business, forgery, handgun, picklock, streetwise, and trading, while the unique role ability of the Fixer is called Operator. Fixers know how to get things on the black market and are adept at navigating the complex social customs of the street, where hundreds of cultures and economic levels collide. Fixers maintain vast webs of contacts and clients who they can reach out to source goods, favors, and/or information. Fixers can also source desirable resources and make favorable business deals. The Operator Fixer role ability has several components, just like other role abilities, including contacts, which is the people you know, your reach, which is the highest category of items that a Fixer can always source. Your haggle is the ability of the Fixer to strike a deal. Grease represents the Fixer's ability to blend into the many cultures on and off the street. And all of these are upped by your Operator rank, which goes basically from local honcho all the way up to a major world leader, potentially. While the Fixer has a little bit of the rogue class to it, it is very much unique from that and has this extra sort of crime lord element to it. So brush up on your social skills, as keeping a vast dossier of contacts both above and below board is your life now as a Fixer. And last but not least, we have the role of the Nomad. In the world of Cyberpunk Red, vehicles matter a lot, and that's where the Nomad role comes in, often living outside Night City in the vast post-war wilderness. Nomads both know how to work with vehicles and have extensive clan or family networks on which they can rely. Nomads are characterized as transport experts, ultimate road warriors, pirates, and smugglers who keep the world connected. Nomads are typically roving bands of vehicle experts that know how to survive in nature, a particular challenge in the time of the Red, given all of the hazards awaiting you outside the city. Nomads are second to none in roadcraft and are particularly valuable as drivers and vehicle operators. Gifted with all types of vehicles from land to air to sea, Nomads know how to get from point A to point B regardless of what they're driving. They can also hold their own in a firefight while being able to rely on a vast, tribe-like network of fellow Nomads. Nomads' skills are animal handling, drive land vehicle, handgun, melee weapon, tracking, trading, and wilderness survival. The unique role ability of the Nomad is called Moto. Whenever a Nomad increases their rank in Moto, they have the option of adding another stock vehicle with minimum specs of their Moto rank or lower to the pool of family vehicles they have permission to use from the family motor pool, or to make an upgrade to one of their current vehicles. Thanks to being around vehicles since birth, Nomads are also able to drive any type of vehicle with tremendous skill. Now, the Nomads get access to what is called the Family Motor Pool, which means that you, as a Nomad, have access to a vehicle. Now, not every role has access to a vehicle. In fact, the Nomads are the only ones who are guaranteed uniquely to have a vehicle. And the higher your rank, in Moto, the better your family motor pool is and the more vehicles you will have access to. At rank 1, you are stuck with, the lowest quality of vehicle, like a compact ground car, whereas when you get to ranks 9 and 10, you can have a super yacht. Nomads can also upgrade vehicles. Unless stated otherwise, an option can only be taken once per vehicle, and the upgrades are also rarely sold on the open market. With the proper moto rank, Nomads can do it themselves. No other role has such access to or ability with the awesomely vast catalog of vehicles that Cyberpunk Red has to offer. With the awesome potential for vehicular play inherent in the game, Nomads have a lot to offer as drivers for the party, as well as a way to get on the road and use some of the great and awesome and epic vehicles that are on offer in Cyberpunk Red. And that covers all 10 roles and role abilities in Cyberpunk Red. But before we go, a note on multiclassing, as in, what if you don't just want to play as one role? Isn't customizability part of the huge appeal of Cyberpunk? Well, yeah, but we need some balance. Cyberpunk's take on multiclassing is also revealing in the way that they look at classes or roles more generally. According to the book, you can't start off taking on 2 roles at once, much in the same way that people in the real world have to throw themselves into a career just to make it work. Your role is just that, a full-time career. It's going to take everything you have just to make it in one area of the street, so don't get cocky, punk. That's what the book says. As such, it's important to point out here that Cyberpunk is intended to be a fairly brutal tabletop RPG ecosystem. It's quite easy to get killed, and just from a gameplay standpoint, you are probably best served by focusing all of your strengths in the places they are intended in order to make sure your abilities are not stretched too thin and therefore make you exceedingly vulnerable in an infamously cutthroat environment. But there's nothing stopping you from starting a new role career and then swapping to another one. In real life, people do that all the time, of course. In the time of the Red, you can change roles anytime you have completed at least 4 ranks in your previous role by buying rank 1 in the new role with improvement points. You then start the new role at rank 1, just mastering the intricacies of your new career. When you switch, you'll be locked from multiclassing again, until your latest role is at least rank 4. So this system actually works a bit similar to Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, in that game they allow you to switch careers. Similarly, you have to buy out of it, so you need to graduate from it and then buy out of it. You can get out of it earlier for a higher cost, and this is a similar system. And improvement points are a major facet of character leveling, and that will be included in the character leveling video. But you can also if you choose to multiclass, you can continue increasing the rank of your previous role, and you retain all features granted by it. But to the street, you will now be seen as your new role as you concentrate on mastering the ropes. So what this tells us is, while you're theoretically able to multiclass to your heart's content, there are rules for how to do it properly, and there are also definite costs. There's a trade-off. You get unique skills that across a vast set of areas that nobody else has, but you might not be too good at them. And you can only be one formal role at a time, though you retain all the attributes and skills of your previous role. This is also similar to how the career system in Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay works. So that bit on multiclassing can glean a bit into the psyche of the Cyberpunk Red developers. They intend for you to play as one role, though they encourage you to accumulate as many skills and build up your character in whatever way is feasible and possible and cool and stylistic to you. And that's it. We've covered all 10 roles in Cyberpunk Red, as well as all 10 unique role abilities. That said, this video, as a sort of general overview. You can find plenty of more Cyberpunk Red content right here on the channel in the near future, including more in-depth role overviews, lore breakdowns, build guides, combat guides, item guides, and the like. Stay tuned for more Cyberpunk content, subscribe, make sure to smash that like button, hit the bell notification button to get a heads up whenever I publish a new video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.